Cincinnati Democrats. My name is Alberta Hemsley, and I'm going to introduce you to some of our staff here. My brother Stanley is on the videographer, on the video there, and my friend Peter Rose is right here with the white hair, and he has cards. Peter does our newsletter. And if you have a newsletter-worthy item, please make sure that you get it to Peter's cards little thing so that he can put it in our newsletter. He's really good about that. We have, let's see, we have Katie Hoffman. Where's Katie Hoffman? Right in the back. She's the one who says I'm not loud enough, so she's really keeps this thing going here. She's the one who gets all of our speakers. She does a really good job. We had our latest speaker for next week, who is a student at Wyoming, just back out yesterday because she says, I can't come next Tuesday, school starts. There you go. Everybody should have a name tag. If you don't have one, go back and get one. And let's start with some, let's see, anybody else here? Oh, Peter has some announcements. Wait.
The documentary film Dark Money will be shown in Cincinnati starting August 17th. I'll put the times and material in the newsletter, but I just want to give you a heads up. I mean, it's supposed to be a terrific film, and I'm especially interested in the issue with Dark Money. I hope many people will go.
It's going to be in a movie theater. Where's the movie theater?
The movie theater is what used to be a movie theater, Garland and Court Street, and then it was the Shakespeare Theater for a while, and they're refiguring it again as a movie theater. I'm trying to think the exact address, but it's sort of at the intersection of Court Street and Garland, I think.
Court Street and Garland. Should be a really good
I'll put all
thing.
the information in.
I would, genuinely.
Yeah. Chris, the microphone is on its way, Chris. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Chris Ferry. I live in Finneytown. We've got gerrymandered out of District 1 into District 2. And Celebrate Mount Healthy is an annual celebration on September 8th. And I rented a booth there for the Democrats. And I would like very much to have anybody who lives over that way come on over and help me. We're going to try to raise name recognition for Joe Schiller, let people know they actually live in District 2, and we're also going to give out information about the down ticket Democrats, like the judgeships that are up. So I could use any help I could get from 3 to 9 on September the 8th in Mount Healthy. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you.
Thank you. Celebrate Mount Healthy. I have rented a booth. It's on September 8th from 3 to 9, and I would like people to come over and give about 2 hours helping to talk about why Democrats care and have people learn who their candidates are. And there are fireworks at the end.
Woo! Yay, fireworks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello everybody, I'm Tim Swallow with Cincinnati World Cinema. I've also worked various campaigns dating back to the year 2000. I see some familiar faces. It's good to be with you. The reason I'm here, very quickly, is that we are presenting an important and timely documentary film. It's called Dark Money. And it's the 17th, 18th, and 19th of August. So it's coming up, about 10 days away. And we've just acquired a theater downtown. Used to be the Movieola and the Movies Rep. We've renamed it to Garfield, and we're finishing renovations. So it'll be a lot of fun. And Cincinnati World Cinema does a lot of social issue films and documentaries, international and independent stuff, not necessarily the junk you see at the mega places. So I hope that you all will tell your friends. I'll pass out some of these little postcards that have date information, and I appreciate your courtesy and allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
all. Do I have directions? Yeah, Race Street, 719 Race Street, corner of Garfield Place and Race. And the postcard you will receive has a website that has parking information, ticket information, so on and so forth. Good question. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, thanks again.
Do we have any other announcements? Can, here's Katie.
This is not necessarily an announcement, but it's kind of bragging. Last Friday, we had new teacher orientation for the 230 new Cincinnati Public Schools teachers. And I did a voter registration drive with them and got 65 voter registrations. Got those turned in. But here's the best. Every single one of the new hires joined the union because they knew how important it was. People came from Kentucky, people came from private schools, and they said they are so happy to be able to join a union. So the Janus decision, the Supreme Court, is kind of doing just the opposite. It's really bringing a forefront of how important unions are, and we need to keep this message out there. And I just want to make sure that you know that both in District 1 and District 2, both AFTAB and Joe Schiller are very strong union advocates. So we need to remember that.
Go for it. How about Martha? Did you have an announcement? No, you're okay. I think we're just about ready for Sara. Sorry about your lunch, Sara. Come on up. She came. This is it. And in front of us we have Sara Bitter, who is better. We need to make sure that we know that. And she's local, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and how she got involved in politics and how she got wrangled into being a candidate for the Senate. And you'll have to tell me where the Senate is, because I looked up my district. You're 54, right?
I am in Senate 7.
Senate 7.
I'll everyone.
Good.
Will educate everyone on my district.
Okay. You're good.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate this. And yes, I am Sara Bitter. I'm running for State Senate District 7. So District 7 is a very gerrymandered district, just like most are here in Ohio. It is in 3 counties. It is in all of Warren County. It is on the eastern part of Hamilton County. So it starts up in the northern part of Hamilton County, Sims Township area, which is where I live, and it goes down to about half of Montgomery, all of Indian Hill, Marymount, Anderson Township, Mount Washington, a little bit of Mount Lookout, a little bit of Hyde Park, and then it goes up into Butler County, into the Middletown area, a little sliver of Middletown. So it is all over the place. And I tell people that's fine, because I actually have lived in several of those places. I know this district really well. It was made for me. So I want to start back and say I am also endorsed by many labor unions. I am very pro-labor. So congratulations for registering all those people to vote. And I am also a very pro-public education candidate as well. So now I'll start. My name is Sara Bitter. I am running for office because I would like to create a disability, mental health, and addiction caucus in the legislature up in Columbus.
Let's hear it.
I have 2 children that have a developmental disability. I am also an attorney, and I'm a disability rights advocate. Growing up, I actually grew up in Mount Washington area. My mother was a nurse, and she was a single mom for many years, and she remarried a police officer. My grandfather, my uncles were all police officers. So to me, public service was just something that came very naturally to me, and it was something that I always wanted to do. And I guess maybe I was a little bit argumentative as a kid, but I was steered towards, but I also really, just drove myself towards this. I decided I wanted to become an attorney. And I think I decided that I would become an attorney in the 10th grade. So I was still really young. And I just decided I was going to go, and so I put my energy on that. I went to the University of Cincinnati for my undergraduate degree in political science. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to do an internship at the White House in the Clinton administration. And I applied for it, and I got it. And they actually placed me with the counsel's office, which are the attorneys for the office of the President of the United States. That was an incredible experience. I got to attend Senate hearings and House hearings and really learn about the judicial system and the executive system and legislative system from the top level. So that was a really incredible experience. I came back to Cincinnati. I had a little bit left to go in my undergraduate degree, and I was trying to get a job actually at a law firm before I wanted to start, before I decided to go to law school, I wanted to get some work experience first. So I called my old boss at the White House and I asked her if I could get a reference, and she gave me a job offer. She said, "Can you come up here and work for me as my assistant?" So a week after I graduated from college at the University of Cincinnati, I was working in the West Wing of the White House as the assistant to the president to the special counsel to the president. So that was another amazing experience. So I feel like I always tell people I front-loaded my life. I got to see things that most people spend a lifetime trying to see. It was amazing. And so I went on. I did make it to law school. I achieved my dream. I went to Case Western Reserve University Law School in Cleveland, Ohio. And while I was in law school, I met my husband. And we decided shortly after I graduated and after finishing law school that we were going to start a family pretty early on. So we had our first child pretty quickly after I graduated and after I became a lawyer. And also when he was born, very quickly after that, we realized that he had a significant delay. He had a significant developmental disability. And so my life changed completely. I went from working, becoming a lawyer and wanting to go out in the world and practice law. My interest actually was trial law. That's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to advocate for people. I am an advocate. And I went from that to navigating systems. I went from that to navigating, first of all, healthcare systems, to try to figure out how to help my son, how to help him get the healthcare that he needed and understand it. And then later it became navigating education systems. So that became the next step, and I began to learn about that. And then at some point after that, we decided we were going to continue with our family, and I have another child. And our second child, we learned, has the same disability. So he was born with a disability as well. He has a genetic disability. So then I really took things into the next gear because I realized that I was going to have to use my background as a mom with this passion and drive, but also my legal career and my interest in advocating for people, and that I wanted to take it to the next step. And so I went to school again. I went to did a program called the Leadership Education in Neurodevelopmental Disabilities Program, which is a national program, and it was at the University of Cincinnati and Cincinnati Children's Hospital. So I did that for a year, and that taught me some leadership skills on public policy and advocacy for people with disabilities. That was a really invaluable experience for me. And I took that as a learning year. I took that as a year to sort of decide how and where I wanted to go. And I'm not sure if many of you have ever heard of, has anyone in this room ever heard of Real Abilities Film Festival? Anyone ever heard of that? Okay, so one person. So Real Abilities, I decided after my year of training that the first thing I needed to do, even though I just spent a year looking at public policy and law, I decided that one of the biggest barriers for people with disabilities and mental health conditions was actually attitudes and perceptions. The barrier was people didn't, if they didn't know, they didn't care, right? But if you know about something and it affects your life in some way, then you do something about it and you care and you understand it. So I decided to try to break down barriers through film and art, believe it or not. So I did Real Abilities Film Festival here in Cincinnati, and then I actually became the national field director in North America for a period of time. And we went from just trying to get people to say, well, you watch a film about disability, and people saying, you want me to watch a film about what? To it really, really increasing this film festival to the point that we've taken it all over the city. We've expanded it into several cities throughout North America, and it really took off. And the reason that it took off is because disability is the largest minority in the world. People with disabilities come from all races, all religions, all backgrounds, all socioeconomic backgrounds, and all political parties. It doesn't matter. And when disability is wide too. It could be a disability like what my children have, like autism or Down syndrome, or it could also be a disability like a veteran coming back from war who has post-traumatic stress disorder, or it could be a person who has Alzheimer's or diabetes or some other health condition. And so I realized that these issues matter to a lot of people, and the film festival actually really highlighted that for me because I got to talk to so many different groups and collaborate with so many different people. And I noticed too during the film festival that we have a lot of silos, right? We have groups in the mental health world. Even in the disability world, we're siloed, right? And so my role in that film festival is try to bring people together collectively and say, we have a voice, our issues matter, we need to start owning this and talking about this and being more open with this. And this is a challenging thing. People don't always want to talk about this stuff, but it is really, really important. Another important political fact, and this is one of the reasons I decided to run for office, is that 30% of American families have a family member with a disability. So we're large, we're a really big group. And when you have any person in your family that has any challenge like this, it can impact your job, right? It can impact your career. For instance, for me, I needed to quit my job, I needed to stay home with my child, I needed to do this. Thankfully, I have a spouse that was able to work and support our family, but I was able to do that. I had law school loans. I have all the debt that you have when you come out of law school, but that's a really significant impact on our family. It also clearly impacts your health care, right? So when we're trying to figure out health care for our children, thankfully, my spouse worked for a company in the US where they couldn't ask if we had pre-existing conditions. It was a firm where, he's also a lawyer, so it was a company where the numbers are large enough that the company couldn't ask if your child had autism. Because there was a really pretty big period of their lives where insurance companies didn't cover any autism services, therapies, things like that, right? So it impacts your health care. It impacts your education. We spend a lot of our time working with teachers and therapists at school, trying to help our children, behavioral specialists, I mean, you name it. We spend a significant chunk of time just trying to help navigate the education system. And why is education so important? I don't think I probably need to tell anybody in this room. If you understand the world around you, if you have a good, solid education, you can go out in the world and live in your community and get a job and be a tax-paying, contributing member of your community, right? You can, it's healthy, it's a positive benefit to the entire community when people are working, and you're able to work when you get a good education, right? So it impacts your education. And then now I'm looking ahead for the future. Both of my kids have a developmental disability. So they have a disability that they will likely need supports in their life. It doesn't mean they need someone to do something for them every single second of the day, but they're gonna need supports. So I'm looking at housing. I'm starting to, and this isn't just me personally, by the way. I work in this field. One thing I missed to say is I work for Cincinnati Children's Hospital now, and I do public policy and advocacy for families as well. I do this on a large scale. So housing, where will people live? How will they live? Should we put everybody in an institution? Absolutely not, right? We have evolved from that period of time in our history. We will live in our communities, we will live in our homes, we will need support. How will we pay for that? Will we cut Medicaid? Will we be able to have a job that might be paid less money, and maybe even less hours, but then be able to purchase health care through the Affordable Care Act, right? Those are the questions that started to coming up to me more and more as I went along over these last couple of years. Also, transportation. Think about transportation. How will people move? How will they get to their job? How will they get to their doctor's appointments? How will they get to see their friends in their community? How will people live? And so I decided that as a mom, as a professional, and as a member of this community, I could not, how could I not run? How can I not use the skills that I have as an attorney and the experiences that I have had politically at the level that I had to bring back to my bring back to my community and to my state? How could I not run? So that's why I'm here today, and I really appreciate you having me here to introduce myself. I am a first-time candidate, in case that wasn't obvious. One of the things that I'm trying to do is, again, my goal, it doesn't even matter if you're in my district or not. If you're in Ohio, you're in the state, right? So my goal is to, like I did with the film festival, talk about this stuff. Talk about it, collaborate, work together, bring people together. When policy and law is being made that has any impact on people who have disabilities, which we know are a lot, right? Mental health, 1 in 5, that's the number, that's the data. Or addiction, think about addiction. When any of those laws or policies are being made in our state, I want this caucus, which will be bipartisan because our legislature is super majority Republican. So I want a work group on it. I want people talking. I want voices coming up. I want people from here in Cincinnati coming up and saying, wait a second, if you're gonna pass this law, I wanna talk about this. I wanna give my voice to this. I wanna tell you my experience and what this matters to me. And that's why I'm running for office, to create this caucus. It is my passion, it is my fuel. We don't get paid for running for office, obviously. So what I wanna say is these are my walk cards. And when I go out there and talk to people, I say, I am a mom. Hi, my name is Sara Bitter. I am running for state senate in District 7. I'm a mom. I have 2 children that have a developmental disability. I am also an attorney and a disability rights advocate. I am running for office because I want to create a disability, mental health, and addiction caucus in the legislature in Columbus. I use the word Columbus because I'm not going to DC, I'm going to Columbus. And I give them this card. I also put this on the front of this. It says, better is a world in which people of all abilities can reach their highest potential. Typically, we put our own picture on the front of this. Again, I am trying to maximize this message. I'm trying to maximize pushing these issues forward. I am trying to normalize women running for office. I am trying to normalize moms running for office. I am trying to normalize moms of children who have any kind of disability or special need or mental health condition running for office. We have to change the laws. We have to get in office and we have to lead, and that's why I'm here. Another thing is, this is my logo, Bitter for Better. I chose this coloring. It was all really well thought out because I knew that we didn't have a lot of money, and I knew that we'd have to do a grassroots effort. And when you see this in a sea of signs, you're gonna see this. So anyone here could, if you're in my district, and again, I think I said it before, but I can tell you the details of where my district is, and you'd be willing to put up a yard sign, that would be really helpful to me. Any of you who are in the state of Ohio, which is all of you, could share with your friends who might live in my district about what I'm doing. I have social media. I even created little videos that just did my little walk card speech. If any of you would like to donate to my campaign, I would really appreciate that too. I have reached about 50% of my fundraising goal. The reason why we have to raise money, I personally feel it's the worst part of running for office. I don't enjoy that. But we have to spread our message, right? So we have to create these cards, but smaller, and then mail them to people, like thousands of people. I have to send them to 40,000 people, a lot, with stamps. I'm also running digital ads, so I had a group of women filmmakers that are made a little short video for me yesterday. It was really neat. I had to apply for it, and they're doing it pro bono, but I will put that on social media to tell the story. We have a postcard writing campaign. Chris Cho here, this amazing woman back here, has helped me in so many ways with postcards and with other things. So it's at every level that we possibly can. We just have to get the word out. So in any way, shape, or form you can help me, I would greatly appreciate it. And then let's do questions.
Who's your opponent?
My opponent his name is Steve Wilson. He was appointed to this seat about a year ago, I guess maybe a year and a half ago at this point. He is from Lebanon. There's a Lebanon national bank that's like in the heart of Lebanon. He is a banking lobbyist, so I think he was his father and he were presidents of that bank. So he's a banking guy, so he has a lot more money than me. And yeah, he was appointed about a year ago. It was Shannon Jones' seat. She was actually the one who, she was our Senate Bill 5. Thank you. Sometimes I'm like a little tired and forget my numbers. But she was the one who introduced Senate Bill 5. So what happens in the legislature is really common. If you have a seat, a lot of times Republicans will do this. They go for the max term, so in 8 years is your max term until you have to come out and then do it again. So at 7 years, Shannon Jones left, went to another position, probably got appointed somewhere else, I'm guessing, and then he was appointed to that seat. So I'm running against somebody who also hasn't run for this office.
Yeah. Microphone?
Oh wait, oh sorry, she had her name up first. Sorry.
As a dental practitioner,
Real close. I think
it's as close as it gets.
I don't think that
There we go. As a dental practitioner who made it a practice to treat mentally disabled patients, I appreciate your position in mental disabilities. As a transgender woman, I have friends who face, in the state of Ohio, the fact that they cannot legally change their gender because of the definition that Ohio has imposed, which is a genetic definition of an XY chromosome or an XX chromosome. This is important in order to get a passport. There are 55 countries in which being transgender is an arrestable offense, and many of them are with death penalties. And you cannot travel abroad comfortably being transgender when you have a female identity but an M on your passport. Will you support a change in the Ohio legislation that will align with the other states? There are only 3 states that have a genetic marker for transgender people in order to allow transgender people born in Ohio to be able to legally change their gender on their birth certificate.
I support the rights and civil rights of all people, including transgender people. I have to look at that particular bill, but yes. I mean, I think that, yes. I mean, I'm very supportive of all people and transgender people, so yes. Did that answer your question? Is that okay? I don't think I need to elaborate.
That's pretty blunt.
I think you made a great case for the range of related issues like transportation, education, and so forth, but I'm concerned that many voters might say, well, you're just a one-issue candidate, and we had Catherine Clyde pointed out so that the Republican legislature has passed something like 20 bills affecting women's health and so forth. There's a huge array of other issues, and I'm sure you would be a progressive person, and reading Dark Money, it makes most of us feel how much more important state legislatures are than we ever paid attention to. But I'm wondering how you want to deal with the issue of all the sorts of other things, like the issues that Lauren raised, that don't seem to have anything directly to do with this caucus that you're focusing on.
Well, just like my opponent, he's a banking lobbyist, right? That's his background, and that's what he says in his commercial, that he worked in a community bank. That's what I'm telling you. I am a disability rights advocate. I'm an attorney and I'm a mom who has 2 children with a disability. My background, my health, my policy platform is education, healthcare, and workforce, right? After this, I'm going to the Cincinnati Realtors Board to do an interview, which, by the way, I have to leave here at 1 o'clock, so I apologize. But I am a multifaceted candidate. This is my story. This is who I am. I am a lawyer, I'm an attorney, I love policy, I am a Democrat and progressive. I believe that women should have the right to choose, I'll fight for that. I am pro-labor, I am pro-education, I want to fight against what cuts are happening in public education right now, and money going, $1 billion going to for-profit charter schools. One big issue we have in Ohio right now, and why we need more Democratic legislators right now, is we have Medicaid expansion in Ohio, right? That's 700,000 people that got insurance. And we know that Kasich, he expanded it, which is great, but we also know that his party, which are all legislators, people that would be my colleagues, want to cut it. They're going to cut it. They've already said they will. They'll do it, right? So we need Democrats in there to fight that. So there's one. That is related. I can tell you all the reasons how that's related to mental health and addiction, but I could also give you reasons how it's not related to that. But I want to fight for these issues. Same thing with pre-existing conditions. I can tell my story, and I can tell the story of the families that I work with on pre-existing conditions, right? But I know that's not just me. I know people getting diagnosed with cancer, that's a pre-existing condition. Diabetes, pre-existing, you name it. So many of us have a pre-existing condition. So I'm gonna fight against that. That's just my personal background. But as a legislator, I think having this background makes me a great candidate to go in there and fight for everybody. I connect all of these issues with everyone.
Hi. I have a friend who has a son who's 30. He has some disabilities due to cerebral palsy and being born with hydrocephaly. He's of an age where he'd like to travel more, but his mother's still working and can't take him all the places he'd like to go. Do you know of any reputable group travel organizations that organize travel for people with various types of disabilities and developmental disabilities?
I know that they exist, or I know I've heard of them. So if I could, if you could take my card, this one, and then email me that question, I'll find out the answer and tell you. I'm pretty certain that there are. I don't know if there's any specifically in Cincinnati. I've seen this happen, and I've seen people do that. That's wonderful, perfect. What's really interesting is I go and talk about what's happening right now. I talk to a lot of different groups. I was endorsed by the Sierra Club. I've been endorsed by teachers unions, by various different labor unions. I'm going to go to the realtors today. I go all over the place and I talk about this. And what's interesting is a lot of times people do ask me questions about their own family members. Because I work at the University Centers of Excellence for Developmental Disabilities. We do support for families. I just did public forums around the state of Ohio on employment first, which is to help people get community employment. And I put questions all over. So it's just interesting to be running as a candidate and talking about this. It's the same thing with Nikki Foster, who's a veteran. She's a combat pilot. She was deployed 5 times, 12-year veteran in the Air Force. She isn't just running on veterans issues, of course, right? She's running, but that's her background, just like my background. And a lot of veterans come to her because they want to know, how do I do this? What do I do here? How do I navigate that? So that's I don't know if that answers the question.
I've got 3 for 1. Where is your office located?
In Sims Township at my home. Okay. I don't have an office.
Okay. And are you getting help? Are you coordinating with Joe Schiller's campaign? Because I think you're in the same general district.
Oh yeah. So here's another interesting thing about my district. So there are 99 House districts in the state legislature. There are 33 Senate seats. All 99 are up in Ohio right now. Those are 2-year terms. The Senate seats are 4-year terms. So they stagger. So right now there's only 17 up. By the way, Democrats are running in all 99 seats and in all 17 that are up, right? I have 3 state rep or House members running in my district. I have Nikki Foster, who's out in the Mason, Middletown area, a little bit of Lebanon. I have Jim Staten, who's in the Springboro, a little bit of Lebanon, Mainville area. No, actually, Nikki's in Mainville. And then I have Christine Fisher, who is in the eastern part, so all the places I told you in Hamilton County. And I also have, and I collaborate with all of them regularly. We all carry each other's walk cards. We actually walk together. Same thing with the U.S. House. So I have AFTAB in my all of Warren County, most of my Hamilton County actually, because I'm in Sims Township, and I have Jill Schiller in the Anderson lower part of the east side, and then I have Vanessa Enoch in the Butler County part. And yes, I coordinate with everyone and only want to do more of that. It's kind of hard. We're all just trying to catch up to speed, and we legislative seats don't have the same resources that AFTAB's team or Jill's team and Vanessa, but we try to coordinate at all levels.
Question number 3, have you filled out the questionnaire for Moms Demand Action, and have you been endorsed by them?
We don't get endorsed, but I did get the gun sense distinction, yes. Okay. They don't endorse state candidates, but yes, they have the check, yep.
Great.
Hi, you mentioned that you were going to be talking to the realtors today, and no, I am not. But I taught government, and realtors generally tend to give their money to Republicans. So I'm so curious to see what you're going to say to the realtors today.
Well, I'm going to say what I just said to you, actually. They're going to ask me specific questions. I filled out a questionnaire. I'm going to tell them that diversity is good, right? Having welcoming, open communities. I live in a great one. I live in Sycamore Schools. We are a very inclusive, warm, welcoming community. We have good property values, and we have all socioeconomic backgrounds, all ethnicities, all races, all religions. They're living in that area, and I'm going to say we are a model, and I chose that area. Even though I grew up in Mount Washington, Anderson area, I chose that because I think it's a wonderful community, and I think I support realtors. I support, the industry for them. But yes, they're leaning more Republican, so it should be interesting. And I'm also going to the federal order or fraternal order of police next weekend too. I'm going everywhere. I can't win my district unless I win independents and Republicans. There's no way. I mean, the 70-30 district, right? I know that this issue, I know from professional and personal work that I do, this binds people. This is a connector. It doesn't matter what party you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter your race, religion, nothing. If you have any of these issues in your life, it impacts you greatly, and you better be watching out for what policies are made in these areas.
Are you watching the 12th district today very closely?
I am. I'm fingers crossed. I know. I hope that, one thing my husband and I were talking about that this morning. I think he was saying, and I'm following it, but I can't follow every single detail because I'm so busy with the campaigning, but $4 million was spent by the Republicans on that, right? Which is all hands on deck, right? That's why we're running. Every area. I am going out there and I am just everything I can possibly do. Maximum pressure. Every one of us candidates, we have to do it, right? And I want AFTAB to win, and I want Jill Schiller to win, I want Vanessa Enoch to win, I want Jim Staten to win, and I want Christine Fisher to win, and I want Nikki Foster to win. And I know all the other candidates out there, judges. I want them to win. Anything I can do to help them win, I'm going to do it. I've offered to carry the judges' slate cards because they don't put a D or an R behind judges. So all of you judges, tell your friends about the judges. It's all about name recognition when it comes to judges, right? So. And by the way, AFTAB is I'm going to be voting for AFTAB as a constituent. So a personal interest in that one.
Hi, and welcome. Speaking of AFTAB and $4 million campaign contributions and that sort of thing, they're going to be showing the Dark Money movie about big money, dark money, anonymous money in Montana. And I see some flyers here, some postcards, right? That's at the Garfield Theater. A little birdie told me that AFTAB's campaign is going to be on the sidewalk out front of that theater that weekend. And I'm wondering if you have given any thought to joining up with folks on the sidewalk outside of the movie showing of Dark Money?
I have to look into that. I have to admit, I did not know about that particular event, so I will look into that. That sounds, okay, well, I'll read it. I mean, I don't think I get any dark money. I mean, I'm not raising anything close to those levels. I'm pretty much a grassroots. I did get money from PACs, but they're like, you know, like the Matriots. I was endorsed by the Matriots. That's a women's PAC. There are some PACs that have been endorsed by, but they're progressive, you know, grassroots PACs. I'm not getting corporate PAC money.
May I ask you, we had the two new chairwomen of the Hamilton County Democratic Party talk to us a few weeks ago, and some of us had questions about, they were mainly talking to us about fundraising, which was disappointing to some of us. We didn't hear much about platform. What are we standing for? What do we tell voters? And I wondered about the fundraising data. I tried to find online, and I'd just like to ask you, should I be able to know who has given to the Hamilton County Democratic Party, for instance, or various Democrats? Who is giving the money? And if it's largely, for instance, the health industry, does that tell us why we can't be one of those states that can mention Medicare for all, even among our district, our congressional candidates? We can't even mention it. I mean, so we need to know who's funding us.
So I can say that, and again, I'm a new candidate, I'm not an expert in election law, but I can say that we had to set up, as candidates, we have to set up a political committee with the Secretary of State. And we have, everything is public documents. So if any of you donate to me, it's gonna be written on there. Someone could technically look it up, right? So you can see everybody who's donated to me, just go online and Google it, you'll find it. So I believe that the Democratic Party would have to do the same. They would have had to do it. Maybe there's somebody here who knows better than me, but it should all be public document. All of it, even on the Republican side, is public document. So I know I'm gonna watch this film about dark money and I'm gonna learn more, right? And here's another reason why I'm running. So I am a mom, I'm a caregiver. I do my laundry, I cook dinner, I do everything. Like yesterday I had a film shoot. I got my husband and I cut their kids' nails, got their hair cut, you know, I had to wash their shirts before we went. I do all that, and then I go campaign. So and right now, it is true, we have way too much money going into politics, so regular people can't run for office. It's really hard to run for office, I'll tell you that. And getting your name out there, you have to have like all this money. And that shouldn't be the case. But how do we figure out a way to break that? How do we figure out a way to change it? I think like people like me have to run. I think I have to go up there and be like, I have 2 kids that have a developmental disability, I'm an attorney, and I'm trying to create a caucus. Like, I think that we have to do that. I think I have to stand up here in front of everyone and tell my life story to make people realize this is what it's gonna take. And I'm hoping I'm planting seeds, right? I hope other people decide to run for office because they say, if she can do it, I can do it. Right? That all of this money in politics this is the problem. This is why we only have a very specific type of person in office. This is why we have, and it's taken me, I'm 44 years old, it's taken me that long to realize that and to run for office to actually fully understand this. We have to figure out a way to change this. We have to make it easier for people to be able to run who care about issues and they have skin in the game and they get in there and they make laws and policies, not because they got a big check from somebody and someone gave them a draft of a law and said, here, do this, right? Because honestly, it kind of happens on the Democratic side too, just FYI. I mean, I mean, the Democratic side I don't think has as much money, and I don't think the Democrats were like, it's not about money as much, it's more about political will and political push. And I do believe a Democratic Party, because we have such diversity, which is awesome and great, it's hard when you have a lot of voices, right? It's really hard to bring people together. It requires a skill. They say Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. If you have a really homogeneous community, it's a lot easier to all agree, right? So this is what's awesome about the Democratic Party. I say we grab some of those Republicans and bring them with us, right? And we gotta figure out a way to blend together and create a really strong coalition and win in this election and the next one. Because we can't keep having this happen anymore.
I'm wondering how you feel about single-payer healthcare. I'm over here. And the death penalty. We're executing people with disabilities.
Yes, we are. 70% of people, kids in the juvenile system have a mental health condition. That's a disability. Think about that. Yes, we are. And I am not in favor of the death penalty. So I don't favor that. And I haven't, again, first time running, I have not had to talk about that openly and publicly, but I am not in favor of that. And we have a system, we are creating prisons, and we're putting people who have mental health conditions and addiction problems into these jails instead of treating people, instead of getting them the health care that they need. We're giving them a jail, right? And that's what I don't like, and I want to change that. Again, this is perfect. This is why for me to go up there and say, no, you're not putting my kid in jail. And believe me, they put people with developmental disabilities in jail too. And they put them in institutions too. I see it. I see it. And we have a very big increase of people with autism right now. People who technically that is a mental health condition. And I'm trying to mobilize families and say, hey, wake up. Like, do you really want that future for your kids?
Single payer.
I actually, for 5 years, my husband's German. I lived in Germany for a while, so I actually spent a lot of time in Europe. And they have a really wonderful system. They have a public system, they have a private system. I believe, and I probably won't get elected because I say this, but I don't care. I believe that our country can't survive unless we evolve to that. I think it would be better if it was Medicare, not Medicaid, right? Because Medicare is just a better system. I haven't worked out all the details. I do believe that is where our country is headed. I think it's about meeting people where they are, right? And bringing them along. And this is where I feel like the Democratic Party needs to be smart about this. And we need to it's about bringing people together. That's why I was a Hillary supporter, right? Bernie Sanders is awesome, and here's why. Because he brought the discussion. He talked about these issues. We have to talk about these issues. We have to be bold, and we have to say what our vision is, and then we have to believe in it and fight for it. But it doesn't mean Bernie's right or Hillary's right. It doesn't mean anybody's right. These are ideas. That's all they are, right? They're not like, they're ideas. And we have to figure out a way to come together with different ideas, even with Republicans, and make it work. Because people can't exist without health care. They need it. And our country we have massive problems with drug addiction. There are children being born, coming to Cincinnati Children's, or going into school districts, or going into other hospitals like Dayton Children's, or wherever around Ohio, and we don't know how to help them. Because this is a new type of developmental disability. And that's tragic, and we cannot let that happen anymore.
So are you in favor of single payer?
I'm not going to make any political statement and say that I am having conversations with the group that is advocating for this, but I'm not there yet. I got to get elected first. Again, I live in a super hardcore Republican area, and if I go out there, actually, I do believe that a lot of Republicans will support that. I actually do. Like, there's a certain segment of Trump voters, right, that want to see. I think they want to see this. So again, this is actually really where I believe we're going to evolve. I do. I don't know if it's going to happen in 1 year, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, but everybody needs to keep putting on maximum pressure. I do agree. Even with candidates like me, I appreciate the conversation. I do.
Comments, your single payer got into the issues that I was thinking about. Because you talked about funding silos. Single payer is like the opposite of that, right?
Yeah, yep.
So it's actually kind of on that with the signage.
Yeah.
So connect those, I think, it makes sense for you to connect those. Mental health care, the biggest institutions providing mental health care in the country are jails, like LA County Jail, Cook County Jail, biggest institutions providing mental health services. It's crazy. The only other issue I wanted to talk about, mention was when you go talk to the real estate folks, you might need something to say about tax levies. You might get a story to have around tax levies before you go in there.
Thank you for that information, I agree with that. Just on a final note, I have really enjoyed the process of running for office, and I appreciate everyone's passion and energy and interest in even having a candidate like me come here. It is a really a wonderful thing. I believe in democracy, and I believe in all of our collective voices, and I know that we can make change, and we just all have to keep putting on maximum pressure. But just remember, meet people where they are, even your candidates. People move, people will go forward, we will do this. We just have to have a chance to figure out a way to work together. I know everyone says that, right? Like, we all have to work together, but we really do. Because if we don't, we know that what's at stake. So we can't all agree 100% of the time. It won't happen. We just have to find those areas and stick to it.
Thanks so much for being with us today, Sara. Sorry to interrupt your lunch. She went to... Okay, he's going to get the newsletter out. Folks, if you have stuff for the newsletter, be sure to get it to Peter before we go anywhere. Any other announcements before we go? I just want to say that you guys are a wonderful, wonderful audience. Thank you for being here today. Now, a couple more announcements.
Okay, let me do it. Anna Kelma, she was brought in by the American Federation of Teachers to help us with the preschool promise. She is going to be coming next week, and you know, we hear about preschool promise in the press, and we hear about it from United Way, and it sounds like, you know, roses and ice cream and all that kind of stuff. She's going to give us the down and dirty. She's going to tell us what's really happening about whether or not these people are being paid a living wage, whether or not they're being trained to be able to meet the needs of the children. So she's going to tell us exactly where they are in the implementation, and so we can start putting pressure on people who are not doing what they said they were going to do. We know what promises were made, the preschool promise about what they were going to do so that that workforce could actually raise up out of poverty and really provide good things in all communities of Cincinnati. So Anna Kelma is going to be here and tell us like it is.
The week after. I'm really excited about the week after for a whole bunch of reasons. One of them is because last year we had the Queen City Balladeers come, and they were wonderful. I don't know if you remember them coming, but they came and they sang original songs of protest and resistance, and it was really a fun time. And if you want to have a really fun luncheon, come the week after next. Now, not to say anything about the week next week. I mean, it's really good. But the week after is going to be spectacular with everybody singing and everybody being happy here. And just as an extra, my two grandsons will be coming here after their 8 weeks of camp. And my son Jacob will be leading a song called, I love this song. The fox is in the hen house and the chickens let him in. He's really good at it too, and I hope you come and hear my grandson Jacob. And I have his birthday card on the back table, and if you want to press the button and see the sword go up, please do that and just sign your name somewhere on that card so that he gets his birthday is tomorrow. He's going to be 10. All of 10. And my other grandson, hopefully is going to be working there too. He's going to be joining us for This Land is Your Land, This Land is My Land. So we'll have the words to those.
Okay. I just want to make sure that everybody understands Rosaline Krupp will not be here next week. She was organizer of the March for Our Lives.
she's in high school. She's going back to school next Tuesday, so she scheduled herself and then realized she really still a kid and she's going back to school. So that's
There
why.
you go.
Yeah,
Go
she
back to
should skip.
school. Couldn't get off for lunch, there you go.
Couldn't get off the lunch.
So without further ado, I have more naturalization ceremonies coming up if you want to do naturalizations with me. And I have the city of Cincinnati metropolitan wants me to register voters on a Thursday. So if you have other times that you want to register voters, see me. I will get you to do the work. It's really good. So thank you for coming. You are a wonderful audience. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.